Hey guys, we are back with some more Salt Lake City Lakers franchise mode, and in the last one, we of course struggled to start out year number 4, I believe we are in now. So we have some line changes, and I don't think the first line was touched at all because Radek Faksa currently hot with 5 goals in 8 games played. However, what was touched, the rest of the lines basically. So the second line is now Burakovsky with Byfield and Hedl instead of Wright there. I wanted to get Hedl there just because I feel like maybe playing 2 rookies together isn't the best idea, especially when they're struggling. So we're going to see how Byfield does with Hedl and Burakovsky now. And Palat is with Wright and Forsbacka Karlsson. Forsbacka Karlsson, of course, shoots the puck a lot. And with Palat passes the puck a lot. So maybe that'll help out Wright. I do have an idea to put Simmons there instead of Palat as well, if that doesn't work out, but we'll see how Palat, Wright, and Forsbacka Karlsson works. And then Tanev, Bennett, and Simmons make up the fourth line. And on defense, you have Fleury and Manson. Decide to get rid of that +3 that would have been with Montour and Dundas on the first pair, because we need to get as much as ice time for Fleury and Manson as possible. Obviously, we're not in the best spot right now. We're 1-7. But I'm not going to just throw this season away like it's nothing. Obviously, we're in year 4 now. We need to show some kind of progress here. And obviously, even if it's not making the playoffs, we at least need to show that we're not giving up on this season. Giving up on the season this early just creates a losing culture, and I do not want to do that, especially for a young team like us. So, on the power play now, we have Burakovsky, Faksa, Wright, Kapanen, and Montour. That is completely different from last time. I believe Burakovsky and Kapanen were on the top power play unit last episode, but Faksa, Wright, and Montour have been moved on to there. And now the second power play unit is Hedl, Byfield, Kasha, Dundas, and Fleury. So completely mixing up the power play units here. The 4-man power play is Hedl, Burakovsky, Fleury, and Montour. And then you have Faksa, Kapanen, Dundas, and Benning. And then on the penalty kill, you have Hedl, Simmons, Fleury, and Montour. And then Faksa, Kapanen, Murphy, and Manson. And on the 3-man penalty kill, you have Hedl, Fleury, and Montour, and then Faksa, Murphy, and Manson. And then on the 4-on-4, you have Faksa, Burakovsky, Fleury, and Manson, and then Hedl, Kapanen, Dundas, and Montour on the second line. And on the third line, you have Bennett, Kasha, Murphy, and Benning. Now, before Byfield and Wright were there, but I felt like since we're giving them power play time now, it'd be best to take them off the 4-on-4. And the 3-on-3, you have Faksa, Burakovsky, and Fleury, Hedl, Kapanen, and Manson, and then Bennett, Kasha, and Montour. Extra attackers are Faksa and Hedl. Shootout is Faksa, Burakovsky, Kasha, Kapanen, and Palat. And in goal, of course, is Shesterkin and Montembeault. I want to see how Shesterkin and Montembeault do after another month of simulating. Obviously, it's only 6 games for Shesterkin. Not the greatest start, though. So we'll see what happens in November for him. And as for Montembeault, it can't possibly get much worse than an 847. So we're going to see how much that can go up over the next month or so. And then scratched, of course, is Mason. So the next thing that I want to do is hire a couple of new coaches, as our associate coach and our assistant coach really are not the greatest. They're C-, C's, D's, all in their grades. And there's a couple of good coaches available currently for hire. Now, obviously, we're not going to go hiring a head coach for an associate coach role, but we are going to hire an associate coach for the assistant coach role, as well as another associate coach. So we are going to sort by teaching, and we are going to try to sign T. Perez. He's a generalist. He's got the A- for teaching. He's got B's everywhere except power play, basically. And he's got a 64% team fit. So I think he would be a pretty good signing to get on board. We'll give him $950K for 4 years to be our associate coach. And I also want to sign S. Vauclair here. He's got an A+ for the penalty kill and a B for the power play. So I figure he could help out with our special teams. C for offense, C for defense, B for teaching, B- for coach influence. And I believe he also, he has a 64% for the team fit. So we'll try to hire him on as the assistant coach. And since we're not giving him his desired role, we'll give him a little bit more money than we gave the other guy. We'll give him $1,050,000 for 4 years as the assistant coach. And now, of course, we're going to have to fire Wismuller and Kilger. So now that all that is done, we will go on the simulation and we will wait for our coaches to sign, and then we will see what happens in November. So there's Perez. He is on board, but now we need to move our goalie coach back to his original position and then go after the assistant coach. I did that a little out of order, so we will just have to go right back after Vauclair here. So we'll give him the same amount that we did before. And there is Vauclair. He is on board with our team. And we did actually manage to get a couple of wins there in a row against Vancouver and Pittsburgh. So we're now 3-8-1 on the season, little by little. Just take a little by little here, really, for the rest of the season, because obviously we're not in a good spot, but we need to show improvement, regardless of whether that's making a run for the playoffs or just building off of a bad start to the season. And in this case, we are building off a bad start to the season. So game against the Islanders, the Predators, and the Rangers. We have an 8-3 loss against the Islanders, unfortunately. And against Nashville, we have a shootout loss and then a win against the Rangers. Okay, so we're out of last now, it looks like. So just keep it going here, and hopefully we'll have a somewhat respectable record by the end of November. And Igor Shesterkin has been injured with a broken ankle until December 31st. Looks like we're going to Montembeault. So now Brock Gregoire is in there as the backup goaltender temporarily, and Montembeault is going to have to really carry a tough load here for the next month and a half or so. So after November, we are currently 6-13-3. Radek Faksa continues to lead our team in points, but we are obviously not in the playoff picture at this point, nor do I think we will be at any point this season. But still, we have to give it our best shot. We absolutely cannot give up at any point during this season. Just get as many wins as we can with what we have, essentially. So Radek Faksa with 18 points, Kapanen with 15, Simmons with 13, Burakovsky with 13, Kasha with 12, Hedl with 11, Palat with 11, Wright with 10. So Wright has picked it up for sure ever since we made those line changes, along with Palat and Forsbacka Karlsson, I believe, is the line he is on. Brandon Montour with 10 points, Manson with 9 points, Forsbacka Karlsson with 8, Bennett with 7, Byfield was 6, so before I believe he had 2 points, so he hasn't really picked it up too much, but it's good to see that Shane Wright has. And as for Fleury, he has 6, Tanev has 5, Murphy has 4, Benning has 4 as well, Dundas with 2, and in goal you have Shesterkin with an 895, of course he is injured, Montembeault with an 866 in 10 games played, and Gregoire actually had to get in there for a little bit, 823 save percentage in 1 game. But that's only on 17 shots allowed. So, yeah, at this point, there's really not much that we can do. I think we just have to wait out the rest of the season with this team. But, of course, making changes along the way to at least try to improve our standing. Obviously, we don't have any elite players, but we effectively, once again, need to make it work with what we have at the moment, while we wait for players like Byfield and Wright to grow, and Dundas as well. So obviously there's pieces missing here, but we do have some positives here, especially defensively. You have Kapanen with a 38-9 takeaway to giveaway ratio, and Shane Wright as an 18-year-old, 30-8. So he's showing some promise defensively already in his young career. Burakovsky, he's got a good ratio as well. Hedl, could be better. Byfield's had a good ratio so far. So we're seeing some positives, especially out of our rookies defensively, specifically, I should say. Not much offensively, although Wright has picked it up recently. I would like to see a lot more out of Byfield for sure, but I'm hoping that he will see some growth, particularly over the offseason, because I don't think it's going to happen during the regular season, just given his point totals so far. Wright actually may be able to grow. I mean, he could grow up to 81, 82 sometime throughout the regular season, and then by the start of next season, he could be somewhere around an 84. Again, it's just Byfield that I'm mainly worried about. So let's cross our fingers that he gets some pretty good growth over the offseason. And now let's check out the team stats to see where we sit as opposed to before. Now remember, goals for per game before we were at a 1.88, and now we are at a 2.68, so a lot better over the past month. Now, what about goals against per game? Before that was at a 4.5. We're now at a 3.91, so a lot less disastrous than before for sure. And the power play was at a 0% before, and it is now at a 13.2. So it's gotten better in basically every category, including the penalty kill. And the penalty kill was at a 76% before, and it is now at an 83.1. So everything's gotten better. That is safe to say. Maybe our coaches have had an influence in that. Maybe it's our players. Maybe it's the line combinations that we've been working with. Again, obviously, I don't foresee us making the playoffs this year, but it would be nice to show that we've improved. And I really do like this core group of players that we have. You know, like Kapanen, Faksa, Kasha, Burakovsky, Hedel. They're all going to be pretty solid players to build around Byfield and Wright. Once Byfield and Wright grow, this is a solid top six. And maybe move some of these guys into the middle six. I mean, obviously, someone's going to be moved down into the middle six once Wright and Byfield take control of the first and second line centers. But still, this is a solid, these 7 right here, the ones that are currently in the top 6, and then Wright as well, these are all solid pieces to build off of at forward. And then on defense, of course, you have Fleury and Manson, both solid defensemen. Dundas, he's going to be a stud someday. And Montour, he's been pretty good himself this year. 10 points in 22 games. So we have a solid core. We just need to get older. I think that's what it is. And Brendan Tanev has been injured with a sprained ankle until December 11th. That is about a week and a half away. Luckily, he's only on the 4th line, so not that big of an injury. We're, I guess for right now, going to have to fill in Mason in there. So Mika Salomaki is on waivers by LA. I'm going to just view his info. 77. Nah, I don't need a 77. I was going to say if he's more like a 79 or an 80 overall, then yeah, I would claim him for sure, especially with our injury right now. But nah. And Brendan Tanev, speaking of which, is back and fully healed. Unfortunately, Andrei Burakovsky injured with a sore shoulder till January 4th. That is about 2 weeks away from now. So we're going to have to, I guess, that's unfortunate, especially for Byfield. Okay, Byfield, he's got 10 goals now. 10 goals and 5 assists. He's been quietly putting up more points. So I cannot complain about that at all. But unfortunately, one of his line mates has just gone down. So for right now, we're going to have to fill in. I guess we'll get Palat up there. But then again, what's Wright done? He hasn't been great as of recent. We'll get Palat up there, I suppose, then with Byfield and Hedel. And then we'll get Simmons up here with Wright and Forsbacka Carlson. We'll get Mason in there on the 4th line. And now Shesterkin is finally back and ready to get back in there. So there you go. That is looking much better. Hopefully Shesterkin can get his numbers back up there because obviously 895, that's not great. But I guess anything's an upgrade over a 64 overall Gregoire. So we have gone through December, and you know what? For our standards, we actually had a very good month. We went 8-6 in December. A loss to the Coyotes, a win here, a loss, a win, and then a loss, but then a win, and a loss, a win, win. So a 3-game winning streak. Well, actually a 4-game winning streak there against the Panthers, and then 2 losses to end off the month. We are now 14, 19, and 3. Obviously still not a good position, but you know what? It was a huge improvement over the start of the season. I will definitely take it. We're not going to go too deep into the stats. We're not going to look at everybody's stats, but we will look at all of our rookies just to keep tabs on them. So Byfield is at 17 points currently, still at a 79 overall. That is fine. Shane Wright, he's really slowed down as of late. Only 3 goals and 9 assists. And Dundas has not gotten a point in a while. He only has 2 points in 36 games. But how are they doing defensively? So Byfield's getting a lot of hits, 67 hits so far. Dundas doesn't look like he's the physical type as of yet, but I expect him to fill into his frame as he gets older. He's only 20 years of age right now. Hopefully he bulks up a little bit more, and hopefully that means he starts playing more physical as he gets older. And as for Shane Wright, well, we know the type of player he is. He's a playmaker, a pure playmaker. He's obviously not going to be hitting, but the takeaways, the giveaways. Shane Wright, 56-17. He's definitely already very good at controlling the puck, as seen by his puck skills category. Everything there in the low 90s. So that's pretty impressive for his rookie season. Now we are going to check out the team stats here. So we're currently at a 2.86 goals for per game, which is actually 5th in the division. And goals against per game has, I believe, gone down since we last checked, 3.58. So once again, everything's slowly but surely improving, it seems, this season. The power play, unfortunately, went down from when we last checked. It was at a 13% before, I believe. Now it's at 11.2. But let's check the penalty kill. All right, the penalty kill has been pretty consistent. It's at an 82% at the moment. So I really can't complain about that month at all. Again, we went 8-6. So as long as we can continue to build off of that, I'm happy. And you know what? We're 5 points out of the playoffs right now. Despite our horrible start, if we go on a run here, we could still technically make some noise in the Central Division. I mean, I'm not expecting us to go on a huge winning streak or anything, but if we can, then we're still technically in this thing. So let's give it our best shot here. So we'll start with 2 weeks, because I do want to follow this pretty closely here. And Andrei Burakovsky is back. So that is definitely good news, especially for guys like Byfield and Wright. So we will get Simmons back on the fourth line, and we will take Mason out. Well, this is great. Shane Wright has been injured with a fractured jaw until January 17th. That's not too long from now. It's still any missed time for any of our young players is not a good thing. So we'll move Bennett up, and I guess Forsback Carlson in the middle here. Simmons up to the third line, and then Mason in. So over the past 2 weeks, we are now 18, 21, and 4. I believe we had more wins in that stretch than losses, as we went 1-1-1 here. We went 3-0 in this week right here, and then 1 loss there. So we went, 4-2-1, I believe that is. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty impressive stretch once again for this team. And we are now sitting in, I believe we're still in the 7th actually, in the Central. However, we are within 2 points of the Predators, who are in 4th. And we're also 3 points within the Oilers, who occupy the second wild card in the Pacific. So I'm just saying, we're technically not out of it yet. We can still do something here. And now Shane Wright is fully healed. We have a trade to Boston, a first and Salda, and to Tampa Bay, Riley Smith and a third. So after January, we are within 4 points of a playoff spot of that wild card in the Central Division. So once again, we are still very much in the chase for the playoffs. Obviously, it didn't look like it was going to happen towards the start of the season, but the Central Division and, well, the Western Conference in general appears to be wide open right now, as Montembeault is now back up to an 885 save percentage, so much better than what we saw before. And as for Shesterkin, 901. Now let's check on our rookies. Byfield, 15 goals, 10 assists. Not bad, you know what? That's much better than the pace that he was on to start the season, for sure. Now, what about Wright? Oh, Wright has been struggling lately. 3 goals and 10 assists. As of when we last checked, he had 3 goals and 9 assists. Wow, yeah, Wright has been struggling big time. Maybe we should look into getting Wright some better line mates. So, Peyton Dundas, now at an 84 overall. He started out as an 82. He hasn't gotten too many points, but he did grow in overall. So, I would say it was a good move putting him down on the top 4 with Montour, because Montour, he was on a pretty good pace to start the season. He's slowed down a little bit since, but still on a pretty good pace. 21 points in 48 games, and he's definitely helped out with Dundas so far. He's gotten less ice time, but positive here is that Dundas's offensive awareness has actually gone up to an 88. That was at, I believe, somewhere around an 84 or an 85 to start the season. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I know it wasn't an 88. It was not that high before. Getting time on the power play has definitely helped out his offensive awareness, and maybe it's playing with Montour as well that's helped out, but nonetheless, Peyton Dundas is growing. So nothing but good news out of that. So really, the only thing I could think of right now to try to improve would be to try to get Wright going. But I'm not sure how to do that without, number 1, breaking up the first line, or number 2, making a trade. And I don't want to make a trade for a veteran who's going to cost too much. So what I want to try to do here, I'm going to go into the player search, and I'm going to search for a forward who has an overall of no more than, I would say, we'll go for an 83, and no less than an 81. And next, I want to sort by offensive awareness, and anyone who has at least an 86 in that category, and anyone who's between an 81 and an 83. So it's going to be pretty tough to find someone like that, but if we can find someone like that and they play alongside of Wright, I think that'll pay dividends for him. So 66 players actually, although there's a lot of them of high values, so we're gonna have to go down the list quite a bit here. So I think I found the player that we are looking for, and that would be Evander Kane. He only has 2 years left on a $7 million deal, and it's not like we can't afford him, right? Because we have players on $10 million contracts just for the sake of having to fill out the salary cap, So we can afford this for sure. It's just a matter of what would the Sharks want for Kane. I would imagine they would be willing to give him up since he's eaten up $7 million cap space. And going back the other way would have to be Forsbacka Karlsson. He's scoring goals. That much is true. But what I like about Evander Kane over Forsbacka Karlsson is that he is very physical compared to Forsbacka Karlsson, who only has 36 hits this year. Not a great ratio either. And then when you take a look at Evander Kane here, he has 17 goals and 7 assists currently on the year. 117 shots, takes roughly the same amount of shots. Actually, I would say more, honestly. And he currently has 90 hits and 38 takeaways to 33 giveaways. So that is what I like about Kane. And this will go through for sure. So we may as well add more to their side. Their pick is way up there. So we will let's try to take their second. I don't think that'll go through. Yeah, that definitely won't go through. We'll try to take their third then. So yeah, I think that'll go through. Forsbacka Karlsson for Kane, and the third proposed trade accepted. So it was a very minor trade, obviously, but what I'm hoping this trade does is I'm hoping it opens up more space for Shane Wright to work with, because obviously he's not going to be a physical player, and neither was Forsbacka Karlsson, and Palat I don't believe is a hitter either. Yeah, he is not a hitter, so we needed to get a hitter on that line. Obviously Simmons is, but Simmons I don't believe is as good with offensive awareness. Yeah, no, he only has an 83 offensive awareness. Kane has an 87, and he's also much better at the puck skills than Simmons. So hopefully Kane will enable Wright to start getting some more points. And not to mention, we also picked up a third-round pick in the process. So for me, I think that's a pretty good trade. And of course, another rookie injury. You hate to see it. Quinton Byfield injured with an injured knee till February 19th. And now Byfield is back. That was actually a pretty short injury. That was only a couple of games. And now Philip Hedl injured with a separated shoulder till March 21st. So after the trade deadline, that's unfortunate. So since this is a long-term injury, we have Palat there on the second line with Byfield and Burakovsky. He creates that +3. And we are also, instead of Mason, going to call up a forward from the AHL, and it may as well be Lawton. Guys, I don't know how this is possible, but we're in a playoff spot. How? After the start that we had, we went 6-13-3, I believe, after the first 2 months. This is not the same team that we started the season with. That team that was losing a whole bunch of games left the building like a couple of months ago. We have been winning a lot as of late. There's the odd loss here and there, obviously. I mean, we're still not a great team, but we've come storming back. I mean, not even back. We've come storming up into a playoff race. I mean, this is actually pretty remarkable for this team especially. We went on a 6-game winning streak to start February, and then 2 losses there, but then you have 3 wins in a row and 5 games in a row with points. We're 31, 25, and 5 now. That means that since we went 6-13-3 to start the season in the first 2 months, we have gone 25-12-2 since that point. We have actually worked ourselves into a playoff spot here. We are 4th in the Central Division with 67 points, and we are only 4 points behind the second place Blackhawks. Now, I don't want to go into the trade deadline and make any stupid trades that would sacrifice our future, obviously. So I don't think we're going to be stopping at the trade deadline here. I think we'll just continue throughout the rest of the regular season. But we have something cooking here. We finally have something cooking here. I'm not sure what it was that finally ignited that turnaround. I don't know whether it was the coaching or the line changes or the trade for Kane or whatever, or the fact that Igor Shesterkin is now up to a .909 save percentage. So I guess it's just a combination of everything that's been going on, and everything's been working, and we find ourselves, for the first time, I believe, in a playoff spot currently. Now, obviously, that can change before the end of the season, but the way we're rolling right now, we very well could stay in this spot. So since we're on a roll, we're just going to check the team stats. We'll wait for the player stats until the end of the season. I just want to see where our goals for and goals against are at. So goals for, we're actually at a 2.93 now. And goals against per game, we're actually not the worst in the division. We are at a 3.15. Our goals against per game and our goals for per game are slowly closing in on each other. They're closing that gap between 2.93 and 3.15. Remember, at the start of the season, that was 1.88 to 4.5. And the power play is at a 14.1%. That is up from 11% as when we last checked. And the penalty kill staying around an 82 to an 83%. So the penalty kill at least is consistent. So I know I said I wouldn't check the player stats, but I will check the rookie stats. Quentin Byfield with 34 points right now, and Shane Wright with 18. So I believe Wright, as of when we last checked, had 13, I believe. So 5 points in the last month or so. So I guess that's better than before. As for Byfield, though, he's having a much better season than I expected out of him for sure. So there's really no reason to make any more trades here because, once again, I don't want to sacrifice any of our future by trading for a veteran. But why would we, right? We're 25, 12, and 2 since going 6, 13, and 3 to start the season. We're in a pretty good position right now as long as we could hold our own for the rest of the season. And I don't think I want to trade for any draft picks right now, and I don't want to trade any away, so there's really no reason to be making a trade right now. Pittsburgh's pick is all the way up there. Oh, Pittsburgh. Actually, let's check on what's Pittsburgh's record. Pittsburgh is at 28, and 5. So, should Pittsburgh miss the playoffs, that pick could be pretty valuable. But once again, we are going to advance right past the trade deadline and hope for the best going through the rest of the season. And I believe we do have Mr. Philip Hedl coming back sometime in March. So we'll just go through 2.5 weeks or so of simulating, and then we will check up on Hedl. And a trade to San Jose, a second, and Sorensen, and to Vegas, Timo Meier. Another trade, we have to Montreal, Robertson, Lindbaum, Cialin, and a third, and to the Rangers, Gallagher, Getzlaf, and Pearson. To Columbus, Bowie, and a second, and to Dallas, a second, a third, and Dano. To Detroit, Pettersson, and a third, and to Pittsburgh, McIsaac, and a fourth. To Anaheim, Henryuki Haru, and Highmore, and to Buffalo, a second, DeHaan, and Haas. To Colorado, Galchenyuk, and Cole, and to Pittsburgh, a first, Perzhagen, and Velachevich. The Minnesota Wild have fired head coach Braden McGilrath. So Philip Hedl is back from injury. We'll definitely have to get him back in there instead of Lawton. So Palat up to the third line with Kane and Wright. And Wright is up to an 81 now. And an official third line scorer. So he's growing. It doesn't seem like he's growing just because of the lack of points that he's getting, but he is growing. Byfield is quite the opposite, actually. So Byfield, remember, he's getting points, but he's not growing it overall as of right now. So let's hope that the amount of points that he's getting contributes to his offseason growth. And unfortunately, Hayden Fleury has been injured with a straight hamstring until April 4th. Luckily, he'll be back before playoff time because it looks like we are actually putting ourselves into a position to get into the playoffs. And Hayden Fleury is now back, so we're going to get him back in the lineup, of course. Guys, we did it. I don't know how, but we did it. We are in the playoffs. I have no explanation. I really don't. So we're going to finish off the regular season here, and then we're going to take a deeper look at the player stats because I'm not sure how this team managed to win as much as it did after we made all those changes. But clearly, something clicked, and we're in. So we finished the season 46, 31, and 5, and 97 points. It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible what this team has done over the past, well, really since December. Let's take a look at forwards here. Kapanen with 69 points in 82 games played. Faxa with 65. Burakovsky with 61. He really picked up the pace compared to what he was doing at the start of the season. Well, I mean, everyone picked up the pace compared to what they were doing at the start of the season. Kasha with 57. Hedl with 54. I believe that is a career high for him. Yes, indeed it is. Then you have Byfield with 52 points as a 79 overall. So it should be very interesting to see what kind of growth Byfield gets over the offseason. Palat with 42 points. Kane with 38 points. How many of those are from our team? He had 14 points in 34 games. So even though he may not have gotten as many points as we would like him to, you can guarantee that one thing that he did do was open up space for Shane Wright. Even though Shane Wright also didn't really get as many points as we anticipated, he did still grow to an 81 overall, and he got 28 points in his rookie year. That's, I mean, obviously, for someone of his skill, we may have expected more, but at the same time, we saw how much he was struggling at certain points during the season. I think he handled his rookie season pretty well, all things considered, especially given that he was initially on a very bad team, which all of a sudden turned into this. Again, I have no idea how to explain it here. Simmons with 28 points as well, Bennett with 23, Tanev with 14, Lawton with 10 in 13 games. Maybe that's it. Maybe it was Scott Lawton. Secret weapon Scott Lawton. Let's see the faceoffs. Hedel is at a 51.7. Byfield at a 50%. Bennett at a 48.2. Faxa at a 48.1. And Wright at a 47.9. Hit-wise, you have Faxa, Kapanen, Byfield, Kane, and Hedel all over 100 hits each. Simmons at 88, so over hit per game. So we got quite a few hitters on our forward core. Now, what about defensively? Wow, Kapanen. 140 to 55 for the takeaway to giveaway ratio. And Shane Wright, again, in his rookie season, all things considered, he did very well for himself. Even though he only got 28 points, that takeaway to giveaway ratio is very, I was about to say respectable, but it's more than respectable. It's actually incredible for a rookie, right? So, bright future for Shane Wright. Burakovsky is also very good at the takeaway to giveaway ratio. Really, the only one who struggled with the takeaway to giveaway ratio, it looks like, was Faxa with 35 to 69. That's unfortunate. Those are more numbers that you usually see from defensemen. But other than that, it doesn't look like too many other guys struggled, besides maybe Kasha as well. And then on defense, you have Fleury, 43 points, Montour with 38. He was a good pickup for sure. He also helped out, undoubtedly, in the development of Dundas this year. Madison with 27 points, Murphy with 20 points, Benning with 16, Dundas with 15, and he's up to an 85 overall. So he's looking pretty good so far as Peyton Dundas. 89 for offensive awareness now. He is coming along very nicely. And Mason with 3 points in 18 games played. Physically, the majority of our defensemen do hit. Just Dundas that needs to grow into his frame a little bit maybe. I mean, he's 6'3", he's almost 200 pounds. So I think honestly the physical side of the game will come around for Dundas later on when he gets more experience. So for right now, I mean, our defensive core is looking pretty good physically. And in goal, you have Shesterkin with a .911 save percentage. That is more like it. Remember before, we saw .879, I believe, during the first month or so of the season. Now he's got that up there to a .911, which is obviously at this point in time very impressive. So as of recently, you have to think that's more like a .922 at least. I would say somewhere around there. I'm speechless about this team. I seriously thought, this team could have easily just thrown in the towel after the first couple of months and called it another year, you know? But we battled back, and now we're getting rewarded for it. We have our first playoff run, and obviously the opportunity to show the rest of the league how much we have improved. So, yeah, I guess it wasn't really any one thing that got us to the playoffs. It was just a combination of everything that just started working later on in the season, and here we are. Now let's check the team stats one final time, and our goals for per game is at a 3.06, and our goals against per game is at a 3.09, so that gap very, very small between the goals for per game and goals against per game now. And if you take out the start of the season part of that, our goals for per game is higher than our goals against per game as it is recently. Obviously, we've been winning, so that's only logical. And on the power play, we are still last in the division, but everything's been getting better, so I can't complain. And the penalty kill is at an 83.9. So the penalty kill has actually been one of the consistent things throughout the season. If I remember correctly, I believe it was at 82% after the first couple of months, which for those couple of months, that was impressive, you know? So the fact that the penalty kill has been able to stay consistent throughout all this, pretty good. And we scored 10 shorthanded goals. Now that is impressive. I wonder, is that the most in the league? That is indeed the most shorthanded goals in the league. Not too bad. So now all that is left to do is see who we have in the playoffs here for year number 4. I believe it will be the Jets as they are in the 3rd seed. And yes, indeed, it will be. So we will check out the Jets lines and then one things off, because this has been one long episode. At least it has been for me on the recording. I'm going on, I think, an hour 40 now. So the first line is Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Patrick Laine. On the second line, you have Furland with Roslovic and Wheeler. Third line, Vesalainen with Stevenson and Okposo. And the fourth line, Glendening, Cousins, and Kovalchuk. Defensively, you have Morrissey and Lindholm. And then Niku with Dillon, and then Heinola with Pionk. So a pretty good defensive core, and got some stars up front there. Hellebuck in net, of course, with Nedeljkovic. And Hellebuck during the regular season put up a .907. It should be a pretty interesting matchup for our first playoff battle ever. Ehlers is injured right now. And then they have Hamonic and McCabe in the reserves as well. So once again, should be pretty interesting for our first playoff series. We have home ice advantage. And the East, you have Toronto versus Carolina, Ottawa versus Tampa, New York versus New York, Washington versus New Jersey, and then the West, you have Vancouver versus Edmonton, Arizona versus Chicago, St. Louis versus Colorado, and your Salt Lake City Lakers versus the Winnipeg Jets. See you guys in the next one.